Hello students, welcome to the class. In this video, we are going to look into the text of Unit 4 of Semester 4, which is a one-act play, A Sunny Morning, a Comedy of Madrid, written by the Spanish brothers Serafin, Joaquin and Alvarez Quintero. Now, A Sunny Morning was originally written in Spanish and then later on translated into English. Now, the three brothers, the authors of this play, Serafin, Joaquin, and Alvarez Quinto, were popularly known as the Golden Boys of Madrid theatre. They were celebrated playwrights of the early 20th century of the Spanish theatre. Together, as brothers, they wrote about 200 plays, which depict the life, the manners, and the speech of the people of Andalusia in southern Spain. Now, their popular comedies have been translated into many other languages and which contributed to the revival of the Spanish theatre. Now, the purpose of this particular play seems to be to entertain the audience. It is a very light-hearted play, a humorous play with many comic scenes in between. This is a story of two people in their prime old age, and it's a classic reunion tale of long lost lovers. These old people were once lovers in their young age, but now they don't even remember or recognize each other, and now they are without their original charm or vigor. This is a humorous take on the stereotypical love stories that we find. Now, the main characters are two people, two protagonists of this play. One is Donna Laura and the other Don Gonzalo. Now, Donna Laura is a 70-year-old woman, a very cultured and refined lady who regularly goes to the town park, and she has this habit of feeding the pigeons there. Now, Don Gonzalo is a 70-year-old gentleman who also regularly goes to this park. And this particular day, he has been little late and has lost his regular bench to some other people. The two minor characters in the play, Petra, who is the maid of Donna Laura, and Juanito, Don Gonzalo's helper. Let's look at the setting of the play. Now, the play is set in a public park in Madrid, and the season is autumn. So sunny mornings are rare in autumn season, and this particular day it is a very sunny morning, and hence the park is rather crowded with many people. All the benches in the park seem to be occupied. Donna Laura has come to the park at her usual time, and she finds her bench empty and she sits on it. Gonzalo has been a little late and he finds his bench occupied by three priests. So he's frustrated and very impatient. It seems that both of them are probably regular visitors to the park, but never have sat on the same bench. And today, it seems Gonzalo has to share a bench with Donna Laura. Now let's look at the summary of this play. Now Donna Laura comes to a place in the park and she sits and she begins her regular activity, that is feeding the breadcrumbs to the birds. Her maid Petra is impatient and as she wants to meet her friend, her lover maybe, the park guard. So she's off. Now Gonzalo is very frustrated that his place is occupied by a other three priests and he doesn't find a place to sit, and he walks towards the bench where Donna Laura is sitting. And because he's so heavyweight, he has to drag his feet, and that scares the birds away. Still, he manages to come to the far corner of Laura's bench and sits on that. Both do not like each other. Laura doesn't like the conduct of Gonzalo. She thinks he's a very ill-natured old man. And Gonzalo is frustrated by the comments of Laura because she goes on talking about his misconduct or bad behavior. Now, after some time, Gonzalo brings out a box of snuff from his pocket and he offers it to Laura, and peace is established between these two people because of the snuff box. Soon afterwards, Gonzalo begins to read from a little book that he has brought alongside with him. It's a book of Spanish poetry. And he begins to read lines from the great poet Campoman. And he also brags about himself that he knows many great Spanish poets like Becker or Gorilla and Zorilla and even Campoman. And soon they find out during the discussion that they both had lived as young people in a particular place called Marisela in the province of Valencia. And Gonzalo is so ecstatic that when he reminds himself of what happened in Marisela, he remembers the young and beautiful woman who was called as the Silver Maiden in that locality. Uh, Laura knows that thing, and he even mentions the name of the Silver Maiden as Laura Lorente. But Laura doesn't reveal that she is, in fact, that Silver Maiden, young and beautiful woman, now the old woman. Laura recalls that there was a young, gallant young soldier who used to pass by the window of the Silver Maiden every day and used to toss flowers to the maiden. Now, Gonzalo remembers that it is him, but he doesn't reveal that it is he. So, both of them pretend that they are either friend or cousin of the original lovers, and they talk about that original love story. And Lara is so worried that in the original love story, the young man had uh, actually deserted the woman. But then Gonzalo tries to tell the story. He says that the young woman was to be married to a rich merchant in the town, and his friend or his cousin was so worried about that he went and had a fight with the merchant, and he injured the merchant so much he was worried for his life, and he fled away from that place. Later, he has written many letters to the young woman, but they were intercepted by her parents, and she never knew about his love. And he went to a war and died in Africa. So he kills the original lover as to portray him as a true and sacrificial lover. Similarly, Laura says that young woman waited for a lover for many days and many years, and one day she drowned herself in the sea as a true lover. Now both kill the original lovers. So a feeling of nostalgia comes to both of them as they remember their young age. But they do not reveal their true identities as they think that both of them have changed much and they do not look like their original selves. They are now very old and look disoriented. They want the love story to be young and strong. So they both make truce, and at the end of the play, they both understand that Gonzalo is that young gallant lover and Laura is the silver maiden. But they don't reveal their true identities and they promise to meet again the next day. Now, if you look at the technique of the play, now the entire play is written in very informal tone and it is very casual with simple lines. The culture and the language and the speech of the region, that is the Andalusia of southern Spain, is portrayed by the writers. The regular usage of words like senor or senora do portray the culture of the Spanish people. And there is a technique used by the writers which really increases the humor in the play, that is the use of asides. Now aside is a dialogue where the actor does not speak to the other character but rather he speaks to the audience. So the usage of asides really brings humor where they make comments about each other. Now the use of poetic lines from great previous poets like Campo Omar suggests to the classical love stories that we find like Romeo and Juliet or Antonio or Cleopatra and so on. Now let's look at the themes that we find in this play. Now the very title says a sunny morning. Now we know that both of the protagonists in the play are very old. They are 70 years old and they're nearing the end of their life. And the season, the writer says, is autumn. So in autumn, if the winter is going to follow autumn, so sunshine is very rare. So even in the lives of these old people, sunshine is really rare. So this was a particular instant when the morning was sunny, so they are out. If it wasn't for sunny morning, they would have stayed in their homes. But they are out because it's a sunny morning. And then we find there is a theme of love in imagination versus love in reality. Many times, love, as portrayed in movies or plays or dramas or novels, is love in imagination. Whereas love in reality has to face the brutal fact that many times is disoriented. It's not physical, but rather it's more of emotional and psychological element involved in love. And there is another theme that life is harsh. For both these old people, life is harsh. Now they can't even walk alone. They have to have the help of the maid and the helper. But then even in this sort of harsh life, it is flowered with sunny mornings. They at least had a chance to remember their young age love. So life is harsh, but it still is scattered with sunny mornings in between. And finally, there is another theme that things are not as real as they appear to be. Both of them don't want to reveal their true nature, that they were the lovers which failed each other. So this is especially true in case of love. So love can take many little forms like infatuation, or for that matter, which is not true love actually. So this is the characters. This is about the characters, the themes, the technique, and also the summary of the one act play, A Sunny Morning. Yes, if you have any questions or queries to ask on this, you can post a query on our blogspot or send a mail to us or even WhatsApp us to the number given. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. Good day.